the fundamentals, the most important things. And we are going to start with things which they are theoretical things, but also they are very practical. So things which we are going to discuss, I would like you to ask these questions and to analyze every reference you have or any photo you have you're working with or from. So let's go here. Things which we need to know every time when we start drawing or painting the portraits. When you look at the reference, I would like you to focus first on the landmarks of the face. And landmarks of the face, they are like this. Let me. Okay, I will go here. Yeah. So we have corners of the eye sockets. You see these ones? We have corners of the eyes. We have zygomatic arch, the bone structure here, and I will show also on the skull. So this here, you see this one, and these corners are here. We have corners of the nose, corners of the mouth. I would say they are the most important landmarks because they are showing us. Let's talk about the first thing, the placement of the features. So when we know these corners, we can assume and we can analyze what is going on with the eye sockets and other structural things. So you see the skull like this. Okay, I will show it here. What do we see? And when we understand the skull, we can say that we see the eye socket structure here, for example. You see all these landmarks, all these points there, they are showing the placement of the eye socket. The same is here, the placement of the nasal bone. And if you notice, the highlight here shows the end of the nasal bone, because when the nasal bone is ending, there is some kind of a bump, and it is very often visible by the highlight on the nose. The rest is just the corners of the nose and the corners of the mouth. So what do they do for us aside from showing just the placement of the features? And to be honest, if you analyze these points and you place them correctly on your drawing or your painting, the likeness will be halfway there. Okay, so this is quite important, because different people, they have different relationships between these points, and finding these points and verticals and horizontals between them will help a lot. Are we good with the sound? Can you hear me?
Yes, it's great.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions about this one? No? Okay. Let's move on. So, we can look at the model here, and you can see that in many cases, and also okay, there are ears now. Ears are also very important landmarks if we can see them. Ears and also corners of the jaw. Between these lines, we can, and yes, we'll just talk about it. Between these lines, we can put between these points, we can put the parallel lines. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
So these lines between them, they should be parallel. And this is, I don't know, if you follow this idea, your heads you're going to draw or paint, they will be always believable, because this is a really helpful tool to show the symmetry and the structure of the face. So all lines between these corners, between these landmarks, they should be parallel, and at the same time they are perpendicular to the center line. So you see, I drew the center line with the green and these constructive lines with the purple. So every time you work on the portraiture, try to measure and to find out, can you really place them on the parallel lines or not? Are they parallel or not? If one eye is lower than another, if the nose is showing line which is not parallel, or corners of the mouth, the face will look very strange. So my advice to you is almost all the faces, they are not really symmetrical. If you do them more symmetrical than you see them, it will help with the illusion, because mind of the viewer tends to read it just to build it, to render it. So you should provide any kind of clue, any kind of information to viewer to understand it and to render the picture in the head. So when we have this, we can also look at just at people. Where it was. Maybe this one. Yeah, this one. So just normal photos. Any type of situation, you can find these points, constructive elements, landmarks, and start to work using them. Even if light is not good, like in these examples, you still can find the structure. You still can find the bone structure, and also you can just find the parallel lines between these landmarks, you see, something like that. I do it in very simplified way. Questions?
I guess that would bring up what makes it, a good reference versus.
Yes, we will talk about it. We will talk about it, and we are slowly moving towards it. So today we are talking about what should we look for, and about the light. Next time I will explain how to approach composition and how to set up your portraiture and how to scavenge for the references to be successful. Because these photos, they can show they show how difficult can it be to draw or paint from such poor reference. By the way, they don't exist. These people. It is they are generated by a neural network. Okay, so another thing is this: the placement of the ear. And if you see normally, average person, I would say, is the top of the ear and the bottom of the ear, they correspond with the bottom of the nose and the corner of the eye socket. So again, these two important landmark areas, the corners of the bottom of the nose and the eye socket corners, they also show us the placement of the ear. And if person is looking up and you are looking, or you are looking at the person from below, this line between the ears will go down, so it will not match the line under the nose. The same will go here, you see? And by the way, was it my sound or someone else? The same is here. The same is here, you see? If person is looking down, the nose will go below the level of the ear. So every time you see someone is looking up or down, check the placement of the ear. it will help you. And also, if you want to show someone looking up, for example, bless you, Kim. If you want someone to show looking up or down, focus on the placement of the ear. It is very fundamental. Many people, they ignore it. Many people, they neglect it, and they struggle with it. So despite what we're discussing is, absolutely primitive, these are fundamental things for portraiture. So let's continue, because you see, and by the way, just a short disclaimer, I highly recommend to study anatomy. I highly recommend to study things, as to the maximum. And we are going to talk about features, about how to paint eyes, how to paint lips, how to paint noses, and other things. But I believe that if we go directly, if we go as simple as possible, straightforward, we will reach success earlier. Because it is very straightforward thing, the human's head and human's body. Okay, let's move on. So what do we have here? People. Let me just remove this one. Okay, so and now what we can do? We have these parallel lines, constructive lines, bottom of the nose, eye socket, the forehead. Can you see it? Yeah, I hope. And you can imagine the head inside of the box in perspective. So let's say in 3/4. Very often you will have 3/4 view, and you will have side of the head visible, while other side is not visible. And also you will have tilt, like in this case. So these lines are not parallel anymore. You see, and to find the placement, you can just imagine the head to be inside of the box. So one plane of the box will be side, and another plane of the box will be front. And these lines, they are still parallel to each other. These lines are still parallel to each other. They just meet there with the same logic as the planes of the box are meeting. So all you need to find sometimes is just relationships between this line. I will show you between this line and that line, you see, and it's all. Because if you know this relationship, you will know relationship here, you will know there, and you will know there. So, yeah. Because the perspective works in such ways that everything will follow. You can
Quick
see.
question.
Yes, please.
So would it be helpful because in this case, like you said, the ear still has the same relationship, of course, but now we're looking from a different perspective. So without actually like drawing a box on like our reference or who we're seeing, picking a point of perspective would be helpful, like we're doing here in the where the points meet.
You mean when you work just to draw a box to find out things?
Without drawing a box, but the same idea, right? Like
Yes.
here we have a box that we're looking at, but they're all meeting at an intersection.
Yes.
And that's really our point of perspective is what I'm saying, right? Like it or no.
Not necessary. It's just a box. Box in perspective can be absolutely, in any case. I would suggest to focus less on such ideas. Just focus on the box, because box can be like in any perspective. And sometimes we can deal with a really severe foreshortening.
Okay.
When we look at someone from above or from below. So sometimes only box can help us to find out. So in this with the yellow box, you can see if you put it flat, the ear and the nose, all these lines will be just parallel, and they will match each other. But in perspective, they still logically on one level. So I would like you to focus on this. this and that is just one level. Imagine the glass with a milk inside of it. So something like that, just a level, like this. Level in perspective. So it is how we place ear or ears accordingly to the rest of the face. Because if we miss it, if the ear will not follow the perspective logic, the head will just, it will be bad. And we want good heads. Is it clear? Feel free to ask questions. So yeah.
So what you're saying, this helps prevent us from spreading out and pancaking flat the features and
Yeah,
reminding us
exactly.
make sure that we're showing where that's dropping away and
Yes.
going further away from us.
Yes, and keep in mind that center line in 3/4, and in any perspective situation, in any foreshortening, the center line will be shifted accordingly. So, and despite being quite easy thing, very often it is neglected. So this distance is shorter than that distance because of foreshortening. You see, like center line is shifted visually. So, okay, is it clear? Is it clear? A is smaller, shorter than B. And again, sometimes you probably you are not really sure about perspective relationships here in the maybe some shadows or something else. Mustache, I don't know, beard can just like make things more difficult. Look here in the forehead, and if you find these relationships, if you find this ratio of foreshortening, you can apply it to the rest of the features, to the rest planes of the body or of the head, or vice versa. If you have the hair here and you are not sure about where exactly glabella should be placed, where exactly the center line is situated, look at the mouth, look at the lips. The upper lip will show you, for example, the ratio of perspective distortion. Okay, clear?
The box starts at the hairline, right? Not at the top of the head.
Doesn't matter. I just drew it this way. So
Okay.
yeah, you can use yeah. It's totally up to you. It's just a concept. The most important for us is just to find out what is happening with the constructive lines in perspective, because we started with just parallel lines between the landmarks, and now we have the box already. So it's like it is more sophisticated idea of just parallel lines between the landmarks of the face. Okay. More questions? I don't hear. I don't see. More. Okay, no questions. Are we good? By the way, with the video, with the audio, let me know. Good, nice. Okay, so let's talk now about the planes of the head and importance of the light. With landmarks, we can start to build the just like kind of a grid. But the head is arrangement of the shapes, and they are symmetrical to a certain degree. So what to do to show it? How we can describe it? We use light. We use light and shadow to show the form. Like in this case here, you see we have strong light source from here. We have core shadow, we have cast shadow, we have core shadow, we have cast shadow. So probably all of you already heard it. we have this important idea here, that with a light we can easily show not just object but also object on which the first object is casting shadow. So we use cast shadows. The importance of cast shadows is to show the form on which this shadow is casting upon, like here. So using one shadow without textures, without anything else, we can show multitude of things, and they are also three-dimensional now. So looking at these two spheres, we can easily see the direction of the light source, the type of the light source, and like environment in general. The same works for the head. The head, just imagine the head the same as these spheres. It has lightest, most perpendicular planes here. It has planes in the shadows, and it has midtones. As we discussed in previous video about the color, we need to find these three types of values: the shadows, the lights, and the midtones. Midtones will provide us with a maximum color, and shadows and light, they help us to describe the form. So when you look for the reference, or when you shoot the model, or when you place the model, making setup, try to find the placement of the light. Try to situate the light in the way which will describe the corners and also the planes, because you're going to paint someone anyways, right? So if you use shadows, means absence of light, absence of pigment, absence of elaborate work. If you can use these shadows to describe the form, better for you, and actually it is better for portraiture. So we tend to look for lighting situations like this. Okay, questions about this one? We are going to talk about it more and more. But if you have any questions, please. And
I'm sorry.
Yes.
That's upward light casting down a little bit at an angle.
Sorry?
As an example, the light, for instance, on this head reference, is coming from above on the side.
Yes, it is coming from above and from the side. Very classical, about 4 feet away from the head. 50 watt or 55 watt bulb. Head is normal size. So and this model shows the most important planes which we need to find on our models. So let us talk about them. This upper plane is most perpendicular to the light source, hence it is the lightest plane. We have two more. We have the brow ridge planes. And to simplify, we have like 1, 2, 3 planes in the forehead. So frontal, 2 side planes, and like temple planes. This is in the shadow, this is in the light. After that, we have this group of planes, side of the face and other side, the frontal planes. And you see all of them, they are absolutely symmetrical. So if you see clearly only one part of the head, you know exactly what to do, just to draw another part of the head. You just need to apply this symmetry and perspective if needed. And keep in mind that if you place your light slightly to the side. Yes, please. What? I've heard something. Okay. If you place the light to the side, one of these symmetrical planes will be lighter than another, you see? So it will help with the form as well. So in this situation, what we need to focus on is simplification of the planes. And try to find this design of the planes in every reference, in every photograph, in every model you have. And I would like you to do simple exercise using references, which I will upload along with a recording of it on Patreon. Also, I will upload in Discord. Just draw the planes. Try to analyze the planes using I don't know if you have access to any kind of digital tool, or just to print it out, and yeah, or just in sketchbook with a pencil. Okay, any questions?
Quick question,
Yes.
Arthur.
Yes, please.
Do you consider the we know where the light source is, right? Do you
Mhm.
consider that eye, so the eye to the left, to be shadow, in shadow, since it's a cavity?
You mean this one? Oops.
No, the other one.
This one.
Yeah.
Every time I just try to squint, and I prefer to follow things I see well when I squint, right? When I squint, if something is wrong, if something is odd, I will implement constructive logic into it. So here, when I squint, I see this is shadow, this is shadow, but the upper eyelid will be part of the light. And there is also, you see the shadow under the lower eyelid. So it's quite complex thing. I cannot say it is like that in this situation, because light comes from that direction, you see. If light will come from above, probably the whole eye socket will be in the shadow. And also, when you're preparing your photo shoot, or when you set up your model, try to squint and to see how will it look on the canvas, because sometimes change of the light source can change the mood of the portrait. So like deep eye sockets in the shadow will look more sinister than than something more decent and more with more light in it. And yeah, like many things to consider. So I recommend you to do very simplified exercise with just drawing of the planes of the head. I will provide example of it, how I see it. So I would like you to do the same. Okay. So yes, and now talking about the shadow here. You see these two spheres, they merge with each other. One is on top of another. So the shadow is uninterrupted in this case. We have core shadow here, the cast shadow there, another core shadow, and it is blending with a, I assume this reflected light area also as a part of the shadow, and it is blended with the cast shadow there. So you see we have an uninterrupted shadow with the different edges. And it will also help you a lot with the portraiture and also with any kind of figurative art. You see, the same is happening here. We have core shadow, cast shadow, core shadow, cast shadow, core shadow again. And you see, it's like that. Just one big shape of big uninterrupted shadow. It is a shortcut. So I would like you to think about it as a shortcut to build the likeness, to build the illusion. Just one shadow helps a lot. So you see, it's the same idea in this reference, and also in this Sargent, you can also see the same uninterrupted shadow, especially in the lips, the core shadow of upper lip and cast shadow to the lower lip, blending with the core shadow of lower lip, and again core shadow of the chin structure, and so on. Is it clear? So think about this. Every time you put the light, think about, can you describe the form with a shadow, and about the balance between the light and dark values. Next time we will discuss composition and different types of lighting, because we don't want to have such dramatic lighting all the time, but I recommend you to practice with this lighting. So lighting like this will teach you a lot about how to show the planes. You see, the shadow itself is explaining us the design of the planes. So things like that. Questions? No? No questions? Okay. So let's talk about good lighting. This is good lighting, what you see right now. 3 figures. The bulb is above the central figure, and you can see that the cast shadow from the nose goes down, very symmetrical. If the point of the cast shadow from the nose is touching the philtrum or situated inside of the philtrum, it means that the light is very frontal, very from above. So you know already what to do, and you can quickly build the illusion using this light. So in this case, we can say that the core shadow is situated here. And if you've noticed, the core shadow is also showing all the time the design of these planes of the head. So the core shadow is situated on the meeting of these planes. So if you have simplified design, it will be easier for you to quickly find the core shadow and to start working with a what do I have? To start working with a wait a second. This sound from Discord, does it come from?
It might be mine. It's probably mine. I'm sorry.
Can you please?
Let me see if I can just mute myself.
So this light here in the left head, the light is, I beg your pardon, something is wrong with my mouse, with my pen. So light comes from this direction, and we can see that the most of the head is in the light, which can be really nice if you want to show a person like more. So consider this type of light as working light. So you don't have to place half of the person into the shadow. Okay. Sometimes all we need to do is just to find core shadow on the peripheral side of the head. So you will have the most of the head in the light family of values, but the cast shadow from the nose is touching, in this case, the core shadow of the side of the head, which is also called Rembrandt's lighting very often, when you see clearly the triangular on the shadow part of the head. The same idea, you can describe the form with the cast shadow of the nose very easily. very easily and like very quickly. So this light is, I would suggest you to work under this light. If you have the room and model is you have to sit your model and you cannot move the light, move the model, ask model to look to the right or to the left, move yourself, move around. But this is the most important thing, because yeah, if you start to work with a really bad light in not really nice lighting situation, you're just shooting yourself in the leg. So try to be strategic with the light. Like this. This is also quite workable light, because we have core shadows, we have cast shadows, we can clearly see the planes which are in the lights and planes which are in the shadows. So every time when you can make this difference between the light and the dark planes, such situations are really good for portraiture. If you cannot, it means that probably the light is very indirect or diffused, also paintable, but more advanced. And there are some strategies about how to tackle such situations. We will talk about it next time, and I will show you how to edit your reference photo if it is not really good for painting, how to make it paintable, and how to try to make a good picture out of poor lit photos. Questions? Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so it's all I wanted to discuss. Yes, like to talk about. If you have any questions, please ask, because yeah, as I said in the beginning, this is very important.
So, a question on when you said how like editing poorly lit photos, how would you like ensure that you didn't accidentally like over edit to a degree that it wouldn't be realistic with the placement of the light? I guess probably.
I will explain. It is not about the changing of the light, although it is also possible, but it is very advanced. No. I will explain later how to solve the problem just with the composition. Using composition and local color to describe the form instead of using light and shadow. But my recommendation is to focus and to look for the references and to make your own references following this idea. Simplification of the light and shadow. And the same works when you just look, when you search online for the references. If you see good reference, yeah, it's good. But you should know, is it really paintable or not? So one of the ways to find out paintable or not is to ask yourself two questions. First, how many light sources? And the second, can I describe the direction and type of light source? If I cannot, I will not paint it. Sometimes it's very important to describe it verbally, like to say, it is a light from the window coming from the left and from the top. The shadow is casting to that side. I see part of the face in the shadow. The core shadow is there. It is just one light source. And if you can describe it verbally, you're good to go. If you try to describe the light, but you cannot, or you can say that it's just a mess, I cannot understand what's going on, probably you have to move on and paint from another reference. Okay?
I have two questions.
Oh, yes, please.
is there a you mentioned Rembrandt lighting, and then there's
Yes.
also like the overhead, like Paramount. Is there a preferred lighting for a male subject or female subject that's you know, more not easier, but like I think you've mentioned before that men, and in my experience in this too, are a little because of their sharper features, easier to draw sometimes, where women are a little more softer in facial features. Does lighting help or aid that at all? Is there a preference?
Yes, yes. I will do like this, either left or right for females, and even central as well. Even central as well. So with a male, I will probably put more of the face into the shadow, just to because. But it's a personal. It's very personal choice. So actually, you should just look at the type of the face and of the face in general. There are some things to consider when you do, let's say, commission portrait. Everyone needs to be depicted better or more interesting, and you need to know which light will fit, and sometimes you will have to know about about even personality of your client and their taste. But we'll discuss these practical aspects next time. So next time I will explain different lighting. We'll show examples, and I will show how these planes of the head, the different value groups and the composition, how they work together, and how to have maximum from each shot, from each reference. Because you see, it's very fundamental, it's very common. No matter which level you are now, you will improve drastically if you grasp this simple idea of describing the planes of the head using the light. So it is not it is not a rocket science. It is not any kind of mystery. Good portraiture is just three-dimensional illusion. We need to show the planes of the head, and the best way to show the planes of the head is just by using light and shadow, as a very natural and simplified way of three-dimensional illusion.
Well, I guess I'll ask the one I always tend to run into. So when you're spot checking and is you're mapping the planes of the head, or say you're doing your underpainting, if something looks off or you're not sure if it's off, before you just get too far with one big mistake sitting there, is like, what are good ways to self-correct or check to make sure you're not just getting used to what's in front of you and
very good question. You have to go here, and first to find all these points, all these landmarks, and after that you go here, and you just draw the lines visually. You can see on Twitch sometimes when I can just take the brush and I start to do the same, just find the line between the corners of the eye socket, for example, or the line between the corners of the mouth, and I try and I check, are they parallel to each other or not. If they are not parallel to each other, obviously I have to deal with it. So yes, it's I recommend to go back and to recheck the placement of the eyes, and you can establish as many lines as possible as you need. You can use just 3 constructive lines because they are going to be parallel. But if you want to go inside of the features, like to find out what is going on in the eye sockets, you can draw as many lines, you can find as many parallel lines as you need. And all of them, they should be perpendicular to the center line.